What is up? It is Friday night. It is Dynasty, well, Fantasy redraft season. This weekend is the main week. But for the Dynasty episode, we are doing a funny one because we're doing J.K. Dobbins, Travis Etienne, and Cam Akers. All non-existent for this season, but for Dynasty players, what are you going to do with your sophomore and rookie running backs? Unfortunately, they are done for the season. And joining us here today is Mike from the Get Right Fantasy Boys. Good friend of the show. Been here, like third, fourth time now. So
four times, yeah.
Yeah, so it's all good. We love you, Mike. Thanks for coming on.
No problems.
So I remember texting you about let's do a keep trade cut with these three, and the first response was like, "Oh God."
Yeah.
So what do you think are so obviously James Robinson is back. So
Yep.
that's our guy.
Very
Gus
happy.
Edwards is now RB1.
Mm-hmm.
And Henderson is apparently the go-to guy, but could it be Sony Michel?
Yeah, they're gonna be.
So, what do you guys think on the three issues that are going on those teams with Jags, Rams, and the Baltimore Ravens? So, brain fart.
Go for it, Mark.
Well, the Robinson owners are probably super happy.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. They were like, oh, okay. Take a first round pick on a running back. Oh, nope, he's gone. Okay, cool. We don't have to worry about it anymore.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
I think last season, a lot of people probably didn't draft him unless you're in a super deep league.
So,
yeah.
But Zigbo and Gumbawale was the main guys before Robinson was even a relevant thing before COVID happened to those two.
Well, Zigbig, it was between him and Robinson at the time. They kept talking about Zigbo, and then they brought up James Robinson as an option. Mm-hmm. And it was all at once, so everyone was unsure of what to do. I was even like, "Oh, I'm going to grab Zigbo." They keep talking about him. They didn't really get into it. Then all of a sudden, James Robinson's a starter, and everyone's like, "What the hell?" and had no clue what was going on. No one drafted him. No one had any idea. I ended up getting him in a trade in week 6 because I had Dak go down, and I was trying to work my way into getting a quarterback, but I also wanted a running back, so I ended up getting him too, and I ended up getting James. Well, it's a keeper league, so I had the ability to keep James Robinson if I wanted to next season in our last round of our draft this year, and I ended up. I got scared of the Etienne thing. The whole thing with Etienne scared the living hell out of me.
Oh, a lot of people did. You're definitely not alone there.
And I ended up not keeping him, and I kept Gaskins over him, and then I ended up drafting James in the 6th round, I think. So I ended up getting James Robinson in the 6th, which I was really happy about. Nice. He fell in our draft, so I was like, oh, thank God. And it worked out because at the time Etienne didn't go down. We ended up drafting. We drafted the day before it happened. So I was very lucky. Oh, actually, it was 2 days before because they played on Monday night. And I ended up I had Troutman and him. I had James Robinson and Troutman. And it was just the most bittersweet moment of my life because they both went out at the same exact time. I was so mad. And they still haven't had any news on Troutman. So I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
Jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you and almost everyone was in that boat. But then there was that kind of speculation that maybe both of them were going to be that 1-2 punch. So, I mean, and then there's the thing, even if Etienne went down, you'd still have Robinson, and he's still relevant. But you know what?
But they had Hyde behind him. That was the problem.
And what's crazy is all of this kind of reminded me of Philip Lindsay. He had 2 back-to-back years of 1,000 yards, and then they brought some other guy in, which is the corpse of Melvin Gordon. And then, they kind of screwed him. They did the same exact thing. A different organization, a elite running back, undrafted, and they just kind of like, yeah, we're moving on, dude. Sorry. So, but I think it's crazy that now we see Gus Edwards coming in. His ADP has risen through the roof, almost 4 or 5 rounds, higher than what most people would have expected him to take. And then Akers will. I mean, let's put he got injured way before some of our dynasty drafts were even happening, or during our dynasty drafts. So,
he got injured a while back.
Yeah, so we kind of knew that a while back. I think it was like early July. And then Etienne happened not too long ago, which was about 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah,
around
roughly.
there. Yeah. So 2 sophomores and a freshman. So what do you have on stats? How did Etienne do actually in when he was in Clemson?
Yep, I got it. So last year he had only 914 rushing yards. So he didn't do a lot last year, but
almost 1,000.
The last 2 years before that, though, he had over 1,600 yards both years.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Why was he so low last year? Did he get hurt?
I think he did get hurt last year.
Did they start later, or did they start regular schedule? Was it because?
Oh, he had 3 less games. That's about it, though.
Okay.
That's almost 600 yards. I mean, that's 200 yards a game.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
still a lot.
Yeah. It's only 3 less games, but it's like 700 less yards.
Right. So,
what's his receiving stats? I'm kind of curious.
Last year was his best year for receiving. He had 48 receptions for 588 yards.
Okay, because they were saying out of the draft that he was probably the purest pass catcher compared to Gainwell.
And that's what he expected out of him.
Yeah, well, I heard that Jacksonville is actually lining him up as receiver in practice.
Oh, for sure. I remember hearing during the draft, which upset me even more being a Giants fan. They were really upset after the Giants took at 20 Kadarius Toney because they were looking to get him at 22, I think it was. So for me, it was just upsetting because I'm like, we should have just took somebody else, which we should have. And they should have just let it go because then I would have been less anxious about James Robinson in general. But it is what it is. There's nothing I can change. Nothing I can do to change it. But it's just really funny to me that it worked out that particular way. So
I think we'll see. Had a lot to do with it, though.
Oh, for sure. And they're going to be using Lavistus Chenault in that particular role anyway. So
yeah, I mean with Urban Meyer there, look, as college guys come in or college coaches come into the NFL and they get spanked. I really hope that maybe Urban Meyer can change that. I don't know if it will happen. A lot of doubts are through the roof right now, me included. But, I mean, who knows? Maybe he can actually change it. I mean, it's like I'm not expecting a lot from the Jags. They did horrible. I don't think they're going to do much again, but we'll see. So moving on from Etienne, what do you got for Dobbins and or Akers, whichever one?
So Dobbins played 1 season, started only 1 game last year. Actually, I don't know if I didn't realize that
he only started one.
Yeah,
he only started one.
Only started 1 game last year.
He played in 15.
He played in 15, but only started 1.
Wow.
And he had 134 rushes for 805 yards and 9 touchdowns.
That's not bad.
Yeah. I mean,
you said 800?
800, yeah. 805.
Yeah.
I mean, considering they didn't even use him at the beginning of the season. I mean, they used him for the 1 game, and everyone was like, holy crap, this guy's going to be good. And then it was like 3, 4, 5 games that they just it was non-existent. They gave him like 3 to 4 rushes, I'm assuming. It wasn't a lot, and then we expected a lot from the first game. I don't know what that was about, but I guess they wanted to get him his first touchdowns. I don't know what that was.
Yeah,
it was really odd for them. It basically hyped up J.K. Dobbins at the beginning, and there was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" Like, I drafted this kid. I'm gonna be balling out, and then it was nothing. It was another Mark Ingram show.
Yeah. It was hard to watch. I wasn't really high on him last year or this year, to be honest. I see the appeal because of the team he's on and what he's doing, but being behind guys like Lamar, who I like the concept because if you're using the RPOs, and being able to be that main guy behind Jackson, and that's the main thing is that you aren't the main running back there. You're the second running back of this group because Jackson becomes the one just based on his ability to run the ball. But at the same time, he ran it for 130, he ran it 134 times. He got 805 yards. That's 6 yards per carry. That's not horrible. And he did, that's probably one of the better stats that I've seen. I think he has the best stats out of running backs that carry the ball more than 135 times. So he was very, and the touchdowns were huge. I mean, he got 9 touchdowns for a rookie is incredible. So I get the appeal, but I wasn't on him because everyone was drafting him in the second round. And I'm sitting there like, why would you even attempt it? It's not worth it for me. I get the team. They rush, more than anybody in the league. I get it. It's fine. I get that. But he's not worth it as, someone you're drafting that high to do anything for you. If you're drafting him in the third, fourth round, I'd be better, a little bit more comfortable doing that. But right. Everyone was going second round. He went first in my 12, my 2-team keeper, and we have a 2-person keeper league, and he went 106, and I sat there.
Holy crap!
The guy had my 106, and he was 105. He had his pick at 105, and he picked Kelsey and then J.K. Dobbins, and there was like Elliott and a few other guys that were available or Barkley, I think too. That I sat there and I went, there was no Christian McCaffrey on the board. There was no Dalvin Cook. There was no Derrick Henry.
Yes,
so, Henry, McCaffrey, and Cook were all capped. Yeah. So I'm sitting here like, you're going to go Dobbins? Like, okay.
I mean, at that point, at second round, you could easily gone like someone easy like Gibson.
Yeah, and Gibson was kept, unfortunately, for that league. But either way, but that's the thing. That's the fun of the keeper league. When you have 20 guys off the board, that could be anywhere. And for that particular league, I ended up, I didn't have a pick until the second round at the 204, and I ended up, for some reason, Joe Mixon dropped to the 2.4, and I'm like, okay. Like, you mentioned. I ended up.
I traded Joe Mixon for Jakey.
Yeah, that is actually kind of funny.
And that's the thing. Like, I'd rather have Joe Mixon above that. Like, he's in a better offense that I think he'll do well in. He's a good patch catcher, and he's the only guy there. I mean, Samaje Perine is great and all, but he's not the primary guy.
What about Chris Evans? Come on.
Oh God! And he just got the rule, like
Captain America,
and he just got that the third running back. He beat out Tyrell Williams or whatever the hell his name is. So it is what it is. I wasn't high on him, to begin with. So he's definitely somebody that I was, actually all 3 of these guys I wasn't even touching. That's why when I texted you, oh God, I'm like, I didn't even want any of them. Like either Etienne was more of a emotional.
Pick your brain, man. It definitely gives you something to think about.
No, of course, but then
good,
like
man.
Akers and Dobbins, I was in the same boat with, and I'll talk about Akers in a minute.
Oh, well, go for it, man. Mark, Akers, what did he do last year?
Akers actually didn't do a lot. I was surprised.
Yeah, that's why.
He only had 625 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Right, but I mean, how many carries? I mean, not really much, right? They didn't really use him. They didn't really use him, which was crazy because everyone thought he
actually had more attempts than Dobbins.
No way.
145, yeah.
What?
Yep.
Wow, that says something about Dobbins and Akers.
He had 11 more.
That is quite surprising.
Yeah, he was. I liked Gaskins better than I liked.
Everyone loved Gaskin last year, man. He was
no,
awesome.
I'm saying for this year, I was still higher on Gaskin than I was on Akers.
Same. I actually wasn't on the Akers thing only because McVay, the way he uses his running backs,
Yeah.
it's very interesting. I don't know how I feel about the way Henderson and Sony Michel's going to be interacting there, and then you got
Yeah.
Xavier Jones. It's like, well, and then you got Jake Funk, who's making some type of word for himself there.
The best name
Look,
in the business.
yeah. Look, I typically like the last time I actually had a Rams running back was the Todd Gurley days, and after that, it
Todd
just seems.
Gurley.
I mean, that was when he was actually good, and then after he left, he was just done. But
I
that
haven't
was
had a
the
Ram
last
since Steven Jackson.
the last running back. Yeah, well, Steven Jackson too. I actually never had that actually opportunity,
Ooh.
but I remember that was the last. I actually had Todd Gurley the last good season he was there, and then that was
Oh,
it.
good.
So, yeah. But I mean, like we said, they're done for the season, and and now that they're done for the season, no one's talking about them anymore. So I figured, why not? Let's make a keep trade cut.
Okay.
So what do you think about these three? Obviously, are they any relevance to next season? Are they gonna potentially be benched next season because of the people who are now playing for them in their roles, or like what do you think about these guys individually? Mark
So
or Mike, either one of
yeah,
you.
I was
I'm
going to
just
say
saying.
either one of us, but
Yeah, I was
I'll
like-
go.
Okay.
So for me, I mean, Dobbins is probably going to get his role back. I don't see anything with that. I mean, Gus Edwards is. I mean, they paid him to do well, but at the same, they paid him to take the ball and run. So I can see him only lasting maybe this season, next season. He'll probably split the carries with Dobbins next year. Like
Well, his contract's only up for that season. Next season, Edwards.
Yeah.
So
Wait, Dobbins?
no, Edwards. Like, they reconstructed it or something like that.
It was a 2-year deal, if I remember correct.
Right, this year and next season. That's what I'm saying.
True.
That's the only thing they have now. So
True, but they were trying to give him money to make him more to keep him around because they trust him to be able to carry the ball. Dobbins was a rookie pick that they're still looking to develop. So him being out for the season only helps Gus, but at the same time, they'll both be able to come back and do well, and they'll keep that running attack fine. It should be fine. The
right.
ACLs these days are not as crazy as they used to be. The Liz Frank injury is a little bit, to me, for Etienne, a little bit more concerning than the Dobbins and Akers thing, because they'll come back next year, they'll be fine, and it happened so early in the year. We're not thinking about like the Saquon type thing where he's hurt in October, not getting the surgery until November, and we don't know how it's going to be until now.
Right.
So they have plenty time to train, so I'm not worried about them as much. The Liz Frank injury tends to linger a little bit, and a lot of people that have gotten it in the past, it tends to
stay around for a little bit.
It caused them issues in moving forward. So it's not a great thing, but at the same time, if you got the right person to take care of you, you should be okay. And it's a little tough for someone like Etienne because of his skill set, being out and needing those feet to be able to cut and everything. So Akers, I think, will be able to keep his particular thing, but I think it's going to be a split backfield that they were looking to do this year anyway, and keep him, with Henderson. They're going to probably draft another running back. I mean, they don't
keep Sony definitely there for sure.
Maybe, but I don't even think they're going to keep Sony. Sony didn't look great in New England, and with that scheme, they had a better line
here, though. Maybe it was just like some players move from different teams.
And they do better.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So it could be a different scheme, different.
I don't know.
Never know. We have to wait till see what happens.
Oh, for sure.
But you're going off of what happened in New England, but I think that Sony has a better chance at his career here. And the only reason why I say that is because Bill Belichick is a great coach. How great? He utilizes all his players. He keeps them healthy by rotating them. And this is why, and I've said this before, like he rotates his running backs to keep them all healthy. And this is what I see. You could disagree with me if you want. I don't care. I'm just saying. But
I was going to add to that.
Well, hey, look, I'm just telling you right now. I'm gonna answer your own question, all right? But I'm just saying that Bill Belichick, I think he rotates his running backs and he plans which attributes they have to certain defenses, and I think that's why all his running backs, he has like 50 of them, and I'm just that's just what I think, and this is why I think Sony was never the 1, 2, 3, 4 guy like every down. It was always like rotational type of thing, and
The
that's what.
one thing the one thing that I've noticed about Bill Belichick in his many years of being a head coach, beyond him being just that the gold standard everywhere, and he was the Giants defensive coordinator during the Super Bowl years. He's a brilliant defensive mind, and just a regular football minded coach, just knows how to play the game. The one thing that I've noticed with Bill Belichick is that he knows the exact time to get rid of somebody at their peak, and he knows when to go, you're done. And
Mm-hmm.
they go to another team and they fall off. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen it so many times that but he's horrible at drafting. Weirdest thing in the world. He can't draft to save his life for some guys. Like his teams are never drafted well, but he ends up doing well in the long term with, free agent grabs and, trades that he ends up making. But when he trades a guy off or he gets rid of somebody, there's a reason for it. He doesn't want them there anymore. He's fine with James White catching the ball out of the backfield. And then he has, JJ Taylor in the backfield who can do what James White can do.
He's a
If
little guy too. He's a little monster. Man.
he's a little guy, but he
He's
can
a
move.
little bowling ball, is what he is. He just
He is,
hits
and
it
then
out of the way.
they drafted Ramondre Stevenson, who's not bad at all. I liked what he did. I mean, he was
No,
definitely the MVP of the preseason.
I love
And
Ramondre Stevenson. I was just mad that he ended up there. I was
yeah,
hoping
for sure.
anywhere else.
Yeah.
I was talking about him way before the season. I love that guy, but now he's there. It's like, well, that sucks.
No,
And I
for
don't want him.
sure. They even had Demarion. Wow, I'm gonna get his name wrong. I'm in a bad place now. They ended up getting Harris, where
Damian Harris, yeah.
Damian Harris. There we go.
Mhm.
He ended up being able to stay, and he was hurt for the beginning of his career, and was still able to stay with the group because Belichick saw what he can do.
He's
So
a decent running back, though.
but then why? But my whole thing is, if you don't trust Harris, you keep Sony. So I think that they cut Sony knowing the concept that they're good with Harris, they're good with their lineup. Let's get rid of the garbage that we don't need and let him try to go somewhere else, and maybe he'll thrive, but it doesn't matter because I don't think he will. And honestly, I don't see anything. I see him splitting carries with Darrell Henderson because of the system, and that they don't trust Darrell Henderson in the first place. They drafted Akers.
Well, I don't think they really did in the first place.
That's what I'm saying. They drafted
Totally
Akers
different.
because of that. They didn't trust him, so they ended up picking up Akers as that secondary guy. But I think they were meaning to use them in a running back by committee type situation, even
Right.
though everyone is arguing the concept that, oh well, during the end of the fantasy playoffs he rushed for 22 times or 25 times or whatever it was, and I'm like, that's one game. Like it, he did it like 3 times, and he was above, I think it was above 15 on each of them. Who cares? It was only 4 games out of the year, and everything else he was below that by a significant amount.
Right.
So you're pretty much putting all your you're drafting this guy in the first round. Like, come on. Like, that's what I always was really unsure about with him, and I never was really high on Akers to begin with. So
I mean, not bad. I mean, you
That's my rant.
definitely put a big old hole in the wall now with that. So,
yeah.
with all that being said, who you keeping, who you cutting, who you trading?
So keeping,
I feel
I'm
like there's
going
some
to keep.
bad blood there. That he's
Well-
unleashed in therapy right now.
True. So I'm keeping Etienne, and the only reason why I'm saying that is because he's younger. Of course, he's higher upside. better idea. The offense isn't going to be so much improved. The defense isn't as improved. So there'll be more opportunities to catch the ball. So I like him better as a long-term deal. I'm definitely going to be trading Dobbins just because he has the better value of between Akers and himself. So I'm getting rid of Dobbins to get something better, hopefully. And then I'm cutting Akers because, like I said, I'm not a big fan. So
Okay. I mean, I see that. And you know what? I'm thinking like maybe this is an opportunity for Etienne to actually like this could be a good thing. Because I mean, I'm assuming next year they're hopefully draft an offensive lineman or something, maybe
build that
help
offense.
that team out, so this could be a good thing. Unfortunately, it's funny, Etienne. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Devi leagues.
Yeah,
This
I
this is
I actually just did a whole podcast, or I did a podcast with. Do you know Shane Hellman?
no, I don't.
If you've done a draft or a mock draft with us, he's more than likely been in it.
Okay.
But I did a podcast last Friday with Shane, and he's a wonderful guy. Check him out. He does draftcountdown.com. He just started it back up, and it's a big Devi league.
But Devi guys, man, it's funny. Like Devi guys, they are in it for a really long time. It's funny. One of my buddies that I was talking to, he was talking about Devi leagues, and he goes, "Yeah, man, I traded for Etienne 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons ago."
Yeah.
And he goes, it was his best year as a sophomore. He was ready to go to the NFL. And then he goes, and then he screwed me because he decided not to play his last season, and because of COVID. So I had to wait that year. And I'm like, and then he told me he was finally happy in the off season that he's actually going back. He's going to the NFL. He can actually use him. And then he gets injured. And then so he's had him for 3 years. And he hasn't been able to use them. It is so hilarious. I just laughed at him, and I was like, "Damn, dude!" Devi leagues for sure. If you don't know what that is, man, look it up. It's you basically draft them since the moment they come out of high school and they hit college.
Yeah,
and it's crazy. There's Devi draft picks, and then your normal draft picks, and of course, if you're playing Dynasty, obviously.
It's Mark,
nuts.
it is
crazy.
It is something to sit there and revel in. It's honestly, Shane was telling me that he scouted a bunch of guys, and he was even able, like he had he had someone in high school that he even kept eyes on. So these leagues are intense.
Wow.
Yeah, they are.
And I sat there, I'm like, really? Like, I'm into this. I love fantasy football in all shapes and sizes. But going all the way down to high school to find guys and use them. Yeah, but that's the fun part of it, is trying to find those guys that actually hit and the ones that don't hit.
And I feel like that's how Dynasty is.
But it's way more intense.
Not as bad. Like I think one of us, his Etienne pick didn't hit, so now he has to deal with it for a season. But that's and many Dynasty players have that, but it's all good. So you have keep as Etienne. And you're trading Dobbins.
Yep.
I like that. Get some value out of him. And then Akers, you're going to cut him. Okay, so Mark, what about you?
I'm kind of in the same boat.
Okay, all right.
I don't know. I do like Dobbins, but even if you go back to last year, he was the in between the 20s guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wasn't. As soon as they get in the red zone, Gus, you're getting out there. Go get the touchdown. And I don't like those guys when it comes to fantasy, because they do all the work to get down there, and then it's like, oh, they don't get the
vulture.
Reward. Yep, vulture.
Yeah. takes his touchdowns, and then they got Lamar to deal with too. So yeah.
It's like Cam Newton.
And then, like he said, he does have kind of, like he said, the worst injury, but he's younger. And then I think giving
Etienne, it started today. He put a post out that is he's recovering today.
Nice.
Today. So he's actually going to do something rather than Saquon waited a whole month or something. I'm just saying.
Liz Frank is easier to. Yeah. They don't need that to inflame. They saw it. They can fix it. It's just it can come back to haunt you. That's the
Right.
difference.
So
ACL can tear too. You can always tear it twice, but at the same time, it's less likely because they're using synthetics and they're not using But for the Liz Frank, I think they have to use like skin grafts or bone grafts or something like that. They have to do something. Yeah, it's. I have to look it up again. Don't hold me to that, but it's definitely a little bit more involved than the ACL.
Sorry,
I know that.
Oh no,
you're
you're
good.
good.
Good. Continue with you were saying.
But like I agree with what he said. Etienne's younger, and I think it actually will help him in the long run because it gives the Jacksonville Jaguars a year to get better, bring in better people, whether it be on the offensive line to help block and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And then after looking at the stats, like I don't know why so many people were high on Akers.
I mean, they
before
heard
he
number
got
one.
hurt.
He was the number one. Like
I know, but there was nothing. And then once they got Michelle, I was like, well, that's a really crowded backfield now for when he comes back.
Yeah,
if they keep him.
So
I'm definitely keeping Etienne, trading Dobbins because I still think you can get a lot for him, and then I'm just going to let Akers go.
Okay, well, since you guys both agree, I'll kind of change it up and get.
Okay.
I remembered my last keep trade cut was with actually Mike.
Yeah, with me. Yeah.
Ironically, that you just happen to be so. But I like your opinion, so maybe that's why I hit you up over this one. But I had answers for what you had said, and then changed it up. Just for
I did change it up. Yeah,
I had to. I don't want to be boring. So I'm going to keep Dobbins. Okay. It's a rush heavy team.
Yeah.
We all know that. Passing is not really like what happened to it. It just in the air. That was 2-3 seasons ago. They were just balling out. Maybe they changed it up this season, but as of now, we know that they run a lot. Okay. Yeah. Maybe he could be your RB2, maybe in the flex, and he get that yardage guy. And yes, he could potentially has two other guys that might take his touchdown. Like, and if I'm getting him in the third, like that means my first two picks are probably going to be more elite running backs. I could probably use them for the touchdowns and then have him for the yardage guy. I don't know, something like that. And Etienne, I'll trade. And here's why. We didn't see much out of him in the NFL yet. His value is still high. He's still a first-round draft pick. People are still living the hype of the first-round draft pick. I could probably get something out of him now, such as, I don't know, another rookie running back who's probably potentially good. Like, I'm not saying like equal value. I'm not going to get a Williams. I might be able to get a Kenneth Gainwell maybe out of him, only because he's like third on the depth chart. But we'll see. You can always play with that. We haven't seen him in the actual, like, how they used him. Preseason is preseason. Coaches do crazy things to cycle. Like, Shanahan does things that he wants people to think. He tells, I'm drafting this guy, but I'm going to go this guy. I'm going to do this play with 50 QBs at them rotating, and then the season I'm going to pick one. Like, things like that. So I'm going to use Etienne as my trade bait to try and get something out of it. But I'll keep Dobbins. I think he's going to be the number one. He's still a talented guy. And then with Gus on a short contract, maybe they get rid of him next season. And maybe they don't like get another running back. I don't know. But I think Dobbins has a stronger chance of being there rather than Etienne, just of the what if.
Yeah.
We don't know because we didn't see
Fair enough.
And then I guess we all agreed on Akers. We're going to cut him. And I think it's just the McVay coaching, Rams running backs. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, next week. It's just very interesting. We think, us as fantasy players think this is going to be the guy, but then they go with Malcolm Brown all season and not your guy.
Yeah.
That was last season.
Good old
Malcolm Brown was just like, what?
You're right.
So
first game, what was it? 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, it's like, and then he was like waiver wire fantasy, like everyone wanted him. So, but yeah, I'll go with Dobbins keep. I'll trade Etienne for his value now before everyone forgets. Do that now before everyone forgets, because then if he comes back next season, maybe he's a hype. I don't know. You could probably live it up. And Akers, just of these three, cut him. Obviously, we probably won't. But yeah. Anyways, that is a Keep Trade Cut with Dobbins, Akers, and Etienne. Thanks, Mike, for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem.
If I have another Keep Trade Cut, I might bring you back on because why not, man?
Hey, man, I like doing these. They're fun. It makes you think a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely picked your brain when I sent you the text, and you're like, "Oh, geez."
Yeah,
3 guys I hate.
It was good. It was a good choice, though.
So, but we're not done tonight. We're gonna actually do a group draft. So if you're still up and watching us, or just getting home or whatever, tune in for that. We're gonna do a ESPN format. I know none of us are very high on ESPN format, but I mean, people do it, and we're gonna show it. And then tomorrow, I think myself and Mark gonna do NFL app, and then we're gonna end it with sleeper. And that's like that's king of
golden
free
standard.
house. Yeah. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.
See you in a little bit.
Yeah.
Getting hype when I aim up, elevating that game up, stepping up to the competition. Only first place, and that's how I'm living. I'm winning till they digging up my grave, eating all the things up on my plate. Game face when I step up into place. I was born and when I watched the other face.